Welcome back to the garage. I'm Robert, and this is Haslip Cycle Works. Today we have a special treat. We actually have bike content on a bike channel. In particular today, we're going to look at our 1995 Vulcan 750. I'm going to kind of give you the backstory of how I purchased the bike, what I did to it after purchasing, getting it ready for the initial attempt to sell it, and bringing you guys up to speed as to where it sits now and what I've done. So super stoked to show you this. Finally got some bike content for you guys. So follow along and start out with how I got it. Here we go. When I initially saw this bike, I was doing like a lot of us do and perusing Craigslist, trying to find a good deal. Of course, this was right before riding season started to pick up. Not too many good deals out there, a lot of bloated prices. There were several hundred bikes for sale, so you had plenty to pick through. And I came across this particular bike, this 95 Kawasaki Vulcan. Rode in a few years. It had been sitting in storage, which consisted of a carport and a tarp. Unfortunately, the interior of the tank was rusted. I was missing a seat, had no battery, tires were dry rotted. And this poor guy had it listed on Craigslist for a little while. I'd watched it for a little bit, and it started out at $1,000. In my mind, that wasn't a bad deal. And after a few weeks, it had dropped down to $750, and I kept watching it. A couple more weeks, it was down to $500, and I had money in hand. I was ready to call the guy up. I thought it was a really good deal. I was super excited. This was going to be my first real project bike that I could get, repair, upgrade, do a few cosmetic things too, and a little bit of maintenance, and then turn around and sell it. And that's kind of what kick-started this whole YouTube channel thing for me. So this is the bike that's really started it all. I had the Triumph for a few years, but it's moving at such a slow pace that I couldn't realistically bring you guys content on the regular in regards to that bike. So back to the Kawasaki. I decided to check the listing on Craigslist one last time. The guy had no real hits on it. No one pursued this bike. I don't understand why. Had low mileage. I'll show you the speedometer here in a minute to show you how low. The guy had no real hits on the bike at the $500 price point. So I checked the ad. The poor guy had dropped the price down to $200 and had updated the ad to say, if no one gets this bike today, taking it to the scrapyard. I immediately called the guy, told him that I was interested in the bike as it sat. I had the now $200 in hand, and I was on my way with a truck to come get it. There and picked it up, got it in the truck, brought it home, put it in the garage, and this is what it looked like when I got it. Please excuse the quality of the photos. At home, I immediately went through and inventoried everything on the bike. Plus, there was a parts bin that he had included, so I went through that as well. I cleaned the rust out of the tank using muriatic acid and then Rust Away. You can get that at Lowe's or Home Depot. Cleaned the carbs in an ultrasonic cleaner that I had purchased off Amazon. I'll put a link to that ultrasonic cleaner in the description. I also went ahead and replaced all the seals, carbs for open element air filters, and a free-flowing exhaust. Found the jet numbers from the Vulcan forums. The information's out there. You just have to kind of hunt for it. Then I needed a seat. I could not find a factory replacement seat. And judging from the pictures of the factory seat, I didn't really care for it. So I went ahead and purchased a used seat from a Kawasaki Mean Streak 1600. And I installed that with a custom bracket that I welded up, and that mounted the rear and used the front mount, the factory front mount on the bike to hold the front of the seat down. Worked out pretty well. It was very comfortable and surprisingly cheap. Went through the bike and replaced all the fluids and all the filters. And then using the parts that were already on the bike, plus a few parts that were in the parts bin, and a couple lengths of tubing, I went ahead and made up and went ahead and painted those pipes and wrapped them in black DEI exhaust wrap. I didn't like the bars that were on the bike. They were the factory ones. They were kind of mini apes, but they were rusted and they were bent. So I swapped those for a set of flipped and reversed Clubman bars that got the riding position further down where I liked it. Next, I went ahead and replaced the dry rotted tires with a set of new Shinkos. I go through and clean up some of the rust and began to paint and powder coat a few of the pieces that were easy to get off and really needed some attention. And I shaved a few tabs and some mounts that weren't used anymore. So now you guys know how I acquired the bike and what I did to prep it for that initial sale. What we're going to go over now is the part that I really enjoy and what really defines Haslip Cycle Works. At this point, I wasn't in a big rush to get rid of the bike, so I figured, why not build it as if it were for me? Do how I feel the bike should be done and how I want it to look. And hopefully someone out there feels the same and ends up purchasing the bike. So what I started with was the front end. Just started at the front and working my way back. I pulled the tacho and the speedo off and shaved the upper triple tree. I powder coated it red. I'll put a link in the description to where I purchased that powder coat from in case anyone wants to replicate that color. Put in my set of progressive front springs, the lowering springs. Word of advice for anyone out there that's looking for springs for the Kawasaki Vulcan, progressive is the way to go. The only issue is, because it's not a very popular bike, hardly anyone carries it in stock. So what you have to do is actually order it from Progressive, and it can take several weeks. I think I waited 4 weeks for mine. So I went ahead and tore the front end back down, installed the Progressive springs with the 2-inch drop, and went ahead and lifted the fork tubes up into the triple clamp far enough for a set of clip-ons to mount to what was sticking up above the triple clamp, and ordered, it's a knockoff version of the Daymaker LED projector with integrated turn signals. The factory Kawasaki headlight assembly will not accept that Daymaker headlight. What you have to do is order a set of universal cafe style mounts that'll fit the forks, and use a KZ1000 or KZ750 headlight bucket assembly and hardware, and that'll allow you to put that Daymaker headlight in and give you your adjustability. Powder coated the outside rim of that red and the rest of it black. The red and black just really pops. Love the colors on this bike. I hope you will too. By the way, those are our shop colors, the glossy red and black. To continue with the look I was going for on the Kawasaki, I went ahead and made some tank lifts for the front of the tank to raise it up 2 inches. I'm going to raise the back as well. It also brings the tank a little far forward towards the bars, but because of the angle on the front of the tank, the bars don't hit, but without giving away too much of what's in this package here. So I continue to powder coat pieces, red and black. I took the factory front fender and cut it down so that it's no longer effective as a fender at all. It's more of a fork brace. A video now of a walk around of the bike so you can see how it sits right now. You may be able to tell which way I'm going with it, but I don't want to let you guys know yet. I kind of want to keep you excited about where is it going and leave some mystery to it. I will show you one piece here that I just received. Came from Unique Cafe Cycles out of California. Handmade by this guy. Quality piece. If you get a chance, look him up. So without further ado, let's see what's in the package. If I can get the damn thing out. There we go. All right. So this is our new cafe style seat hoop with integrated turn signal, brake light, and running light. Yeah, you'll see this for miles. If I get rear-ended, it's not going to be because they didn't see this tail light. But without giving too much away, I think you kind of understand where I'm going with this bike. But more parts are on the way, and hopefully the next video on this bike will actually be me removing the fender and the stock tail light and whatnot, and starting to cut the frame. So hopefully you're excited about this as I am, and we're going to make this bike completely unrecognizable. That's the goal here. We want to take bikes that most people don't care for whatever reason and turn them into something that you don't recognize as the original bike, and show you guys that you don't have to have a $40,000-$50,000 bike to be impressive. You don't need what's mainstream to have a good looking bike, a good riding bike. You can take bikes that most people would consider garbage because they don't meet the status quo or they're not mainstream, and turn it into your own and have something that's one of one. That's the goal here. So we're going to turn this 95 Kawasaki Vulcan into something that I've looked and looked, and I cannot find a good example of a Kawasaki Vulcan 750 being turned into this. So hopefully you guys subscribe, follow along, and join me on this crazy adventure. Until next time, get up, get out there, and do it. See you guys later.